Welcome. How's it going, everyone? This is Tyler Dunn at golongtd.com, your home for long-form journalism in pro football. We try to cover the game through a humanizing lens, lift up the curtain on how things really work. So if you don't, make sure you make your way over to golongtd.com on Substack and subscribe. Only $8 a month, $50 a year. We are traveling the country, sitting down with players, with coaches, really trying to bring you really the true story on how this crazy sport works. So it's been a lot of fun. Launched in November of 2020, and we've been growing ever since, thanks to you, thanks to our reader support, our viewer support. And we've gotten to a point with this YouTube channel, Go Long TD, where we can start adding more on-the-fly clips like this. I thought it'd be smart to just kind of talk to you directly and hang out in the comments section as much as you'd like. So as things happen in our reporting, as they did over the weekend with our story on the 3 rookie quarterbacks, I'll just pop on here on YouTube and share a few extra thoughts. So be sure to like this page, share our channel, subscribe, do all that good stuff. That's how we keep this thing growing. Okay, quarterbacks of the future. That was our weekly feature this past week. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson. I spent a week down in Houston trying to figure out what's really happening behind the scenes, why CJ Stroud looks like he really just has been throwing a football since he exited the womb, for one, but really why he is historically having one of the best starts to a career for any quarterback in NFL history. It's right there with Andrew Luck, Justin Herbert's rookie season. Name your rookie, and CJ Stroud is statistically on par. So we're going to get to him in a separate clip. But for this one right here, I just thought we would elaborate a little bit on Bryce Young. So by now, you've probably seen some national headlines that Frank Reich has relinquished play calling duties to his offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown. Of course, the Carolina Panthers are also winless. And of course, the Carolina Panthers gave up an absolute haul for Bryce Young. In fact, let's pull it up here because, we don't want to shortchange anything. So for the rights to Bryce Young out of Alabama, really the rights to take any quarterback they so chose, the Carolina Panthers gave up the number 9 overall pick, the number 61 overall pick, a 2024 first round pick, a 2025 second rounder, and wide receiver DJ Moore. So they give up their number 1 receiver. Now they're looking for a number 1 receiver, all for Bryce Young. Frank Reich gives up play calling duties. Things are going terribly. And I know what a lot of Panther fans out there are thinking, really a lot of football fans are thinking. They're thinking, holy hell, we took the wrong quarterback. Maybe they did. I mean, I am all in on CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud with Bobby Slowick, that fit with the Houston Texans. Perfect. Like I said, we'll get into that. I'm here to tell you, do not give up on Bryce Young. I think that Bryce Young is going to be a good quarterback in the National Football League, potentially a great quarterback. Now, he's got one potential fatal flaw that Josh Lucas hit on, the longtime NFL exec who worked with the Chicago Bears, New Orleans Saints. Talked to him for the story up at Go Long as well. But I think you really have to break this down piece by piece. Yes, very small quarterback. It seems like he disappears at times out there in thin air. He's small. He's not thick like Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, other 6'5", 5'10" quarterbacks. He's thin. Not ideal. He can't just shut guys off his body. Yes, he doesn't have a wide receiver. He doesn't have a number 1 legit X receiver that you can just force feed the ball to. Doesn't have that. Arguably, you could make the case he doesn't have a wide receiver too. Adam Thielen's been pretty solid though. Offensive line, not good. The offensive guard play, not good. Josh Lucas made a great point. He said on his New Orleans Saints teams with Drew Brees, they could go through average to below average tackles. Drew Brees wasn't really worried about that. He was able to set the passing record in large part to that guard play, depth of pocket. Jari Evans, Carl Nix, even that, that second run that he had later in his career, really good guard play to where he could see down the field and he didn't have to worry about pressure in his face. He could step up into the pocket and make those throws to Marcus Colston, Michael Thomas, Jimmy Graham. The Panthers don't have that right now. And a big reason they don't have that is Austin Corbett, one of the better guards in the NFL. he had a significant injury at the end of last season. They're going to be getting him back soon, so that's going to help. Zavala, rookie they drafted 4th round, they're high on him. He could be something at one point, but they should pay up for some line play, some interior line play to help Bryce Young. But I think what is worth getting into on this clip here on our YouTube channel is the fact that the offense just had to change. And I spoke to somebody in the Panthers organization who I really, really trust. Let's just call him a higher up in the organization. And it was indicated to me last week that people in that Panthers organization, important people, went to Frank Reich, went to the coaching staff and said, we need to open up this offense. You have to open it up. In Carolina, under Frank Reich, it's quite archaic when you really think about it and when you really look at their offense and what they were doing. And you have to look at it two different ways. So let's start with the play calling and the play design. It's very wide receiver is running a route. He's either going to get open or he's not going to get open. The quarterback's either going to throw it to him or he's not going to throw it to him. There's not a lot of stuff baked into those routes, route concepts, right? Adjustments, different things you can do within a play that you see the best coaches doing, the best coordinators doing. Robert Woods in our Quarterbacks of the Future story, talked to him at length, really listened to him and how he dissects this Bobby Slowick offense, which is, of course, from the Kyle Shanahan tree. Bobby Slowick is. He worked with Shanahan. And Robert Woods played with Sean McVay, too. So he has been in that world, and then he has been in the world of Greg Roman in Buffalo, the Tennessee Titans. Very simplified, an elementary passing game. I'll tell you what, that Buffalo Bills offense in 2015, when you look at the talent that they had, was LaShawn McCoy, Percy Harvin, Sammy Watkins, Robert Woods, Charles Clay, one of, if not the best offensive line in football. I mean, Tyrod Taylor, not exactly going to dissect you and pick you apart. But I tell you what, that should have been a better passing game, and it wasn't because of what these receivers were asked to do. It was simple. As Robert Woods put, in Bobby Slowick's offense, like they really do test the quote-unquote rules of a defender. Oh, your hook zone's asking you to drop X amount of yards. We're going to test that. We're going to stretch it maybe 2-3 yards more. Let's see how far you take it. It's timing based. CJ Stroud hits that back foot, and it's in sync with when the receiver's getting out of his break. And if that's closed, he's moving off of it. He's going somewhere else. There's an answer for everything. They really do believe in their offense. They've got an answer for anything you're trying defensively. And there's a level of confidence in Houston that you just don't get the sense anybody in Carolina has with what Frank Reich is asking them to do. So push came to shove. And David Tepper, I know there's a lot of opinions out there on him. Probably need a full hour to discuss ownership, personnel decisions, how involved should an owner be. Look, the reality is he's pissed off, and he has every right to be pissed off. When you buy a sports franchise for, again, let's pull up the story so we got our facts straight. $2.275 billion with a B dollars. I mean, as was relayed to me, hell yeah, I'd want to know what the hell is going on. Oh, we're 0-5 for this investment I made, for these coaches I hired, for these players we traded everything for, Bryce Young. What the bleep is going on? Yeah, I think some involvement is justified. Where is that line? That's up for debate. You know, as I reported on this story, it was told to me by an NFL exec who's pretty plugged in with somebody that was in the Panthers front office that David Tepper, when he heard about CJ Stroud's S2 score, that it spooked him. That as a hedge fund guy, it was, all right, nope, we're going Bryce Young. If it was neck and neck, we're moving to Bryce Young. He had the 98%. Stroud had the 18%. Our Bob McGinn, with his 39th annual draft series, he reported all of that at Go Long. Check it out in his series and the significance of that S2. But I did talk to somebody in the organization who was defiant, adamant, but defiant's probably the better word, that no, it wasn't the S2, that everybody was genuinely on board with Bryce Young, that he checked every box. He could improvise. He's smart. And that's another problem here with their offense. It's not only the fact that schematically, it's very basic, that they basically just kind of run their offense per se, right? There's not a lot of unpredictability, not a lot of layers, route concepts, this playing off of that, toss, trap, sweep, go. Like, there's no sequence that you kind of get a feel for when you're watching a Shanahan game, a Slowick game, a Mike McDaniel game. It's not only that, it's the fact that he is so smart that they are asking him to do too much at the line of scrimmage. When he's at the line of scrimmage, he's setting the protections. He's setting the hots. He's responsible for everything pre-snap, where he can handle it, but and you know what? Long term, it's probably best for your quarterback to be in total command like that. But when you're 21, 22 years old and you're athletic, you were a magician at Alabama, you made your best plays and were able to just go play up tempo, play fast, not have to think a lot. When you're then asking that quarterback to think a lot, that can kind of muddy the waters. I mean, that can just make things a little more complicated, I think, for a young quarterback. So I do believe that not everybody, but a lot of people in that organization realized this. They went to Frank Reich, kind of forced his hand, and they're all on board making things a little more up-tempo. You know, the end of that Lions game, that granted they were down 28-7, but he got into a little bit of a rhythm. You could see it. He made some big-time throws. He's almost like a basketball player. Started making some layups, started getting to the foul line, got into a groove. The quarterback is a very rhythmic, momentum-based field position too, especially these young quarterbacks coming up. They were just asking him to do too much at the line of scrimmage with protections and all of that stuff, while also pigeonholing him in a basic offense, where as a coach, you should be able to give your players every answer and make it as streamlined as possible. Does handing over the play calling duties to the offensive coordinator change anything? I'm not sure. I really don't know. It can't hurt at this point. I think jobs are on the line, as they should be. They haven't won a game. I do think, though, that turning in your card to Roger Goodell and saying who you're going to draft, that's only the beginning. That's only the start. Everything a team does from that point forward is more important. And they have to operate through the lens of everything we're doing is with Bryce Young at the forefront of mind, because you made that investment. He's the face of the franchise, and you're all in at this point. So I'm just going to go back and, again, go to golongtd.com. We've got the full story. It's about 7,000 words on Young, Stroud, Anthony Richardson, talking to people around the league on everybody. Bryce Young, I mean, you're looking at somebody who threw for 80 touchdowns in college, only 12 picks, still hasn't won a game. It's been very basic, but I honestly don't believe it's all on him. I think it's asinine to write him off at this point, especially given what we've seen some young quarterbacks go through early in their career, given their awful circumstances. That being said, I'm going to pull up some comments from Josh Lucas, who was exceptional. Hopefully you caught his podcast with Jim Onis as well. It was about, I don't know, hour and a half, a couple weeks ago here on the YouTube channel and also at Go Long. He was with the Bears when they chose Mitchell Trubisky ahead of Patrick Mahomes. Just nothing to hide, reliving everything, every detail. And then they drafted Justin Fields a few years later. He gets into all of that. I just find his perspective fascinating, as well as Jim Onis, obviously. And you've heard from Jim. You know, these guys that have they've been in that room, they've made good decisions, they've made bad decisions, and they've learned from everything. And to get that perspective is awesome. So Josh was, he was very concerned about that depth of pocket, you know, living with the New Orleans Saints, seeing what they were able to do with Jahri Evans, Carl Nicks, Drew Brees throwing for 80,000 yards. Josh says, quote, "We were so stout and strong in the center of that line. We set that pocket firm. Drew could handle pressure from the tackles. We weren't great at tackle because Drew could always feel it and step up. And as long as he had a chance to step up, he had a chance to be consistently productive throughout the course of a game. With Bryce, you're seeing it already. He's got to be able to step up in that pocket, or he's going to have an extremely hard time." So it's scary as hell, he said, you know, when you're that small. You're not a Josh Allen, a Ben Roethlisberger, just, throwing guys off of you to keep a play alive. You're not a Lamar Jackson. You can't just turn in this electrifying specimen, Barry Sanders at quarterback, and juke and elude guys. He's more slithery in the pocket, but he needs a pocket to be most effective. And I think what's encouraging and why I'm still in on Bryce Young, he's reading the field. And Josh made this point. My Panthers sources made this point. He's still reading the field. He's going 1 to 2 to 3. You can see him working through those progressions. So if he gets Corbett back, maybe they sign somebody next year. They've got to get him a weapon. They don't grow on trees. You gave one up to get Bryce Young and DJ Moore. If they can get to that point, I think then you can really make a judgment on Bryce Young and where his career's going. But it starts with what you can do as a franchise. And what you can do is put pressure on your coaches to take advantage of this skill set, to maximize it. Now, can Frank Reich all of a sudden become a Mike McDaniel? No. But it's not like the Houston Texans with Bobby Slowick are, overflowing with receiving talent or offensive line talent. They were down to one opening day starter by week 2, I believe. Nico Collins could be a rising star. Had a great chance to sit down with Nico too. We'll have a story to go along on him. Still young. Robert Woods, veteran. But is it a substantially better group than Carolina? DJ Shark, Adam Thielen. I mean, yeah, it's better. But I think that schematically, you've got to figure out a way to get guys open. We'll see what he can do. In Indianapolis, it wasn't necessarily the cutting edge stuff either. He's been in the game a long time. He's old school. Maybe Thomas Brown Collin plays, younger guy. Maybe he's got some ideas. Maybe he can get into a rhythm with Bryce Young. We're going to see. But the future of the Carolina Panthers absolutely depends on it. And I can tell you this, there is angst. There is frustration. It's trickling down from the very top with David Tepper. And there will need to be results. I think everybody understands jobs are on the line here with each loss. Alrighty, that's going to do it for this clip here on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and of course, reading everything at golongtd.com and within Substack. Hope to gain you as a subscriber. We've got a lot coming. I'm going to have a feature on a Miami Dolphins player who is a little different than the stars that you see in Miami. Chatted for an hour with this guy, and he may be just as important to them winning when it really matters in January, as well as a ton of podcasts coming up with Bob McGinn, Jim Monis, Brett Favre. You can catch those episodes at Go Long. And also Matt Hasselbeck, Seattle Seahawks great, joined me for a one-on-one. You can catch that here on the channel and at Go Long. So thank you so much, everyone. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. We'll keep doing this if you enjoy. Thanks.